Hello everybody once again, Griffinlobster. Welcome to part 4 of my top 100 games of all time. Before we jump into number 70, just want to drop a quick thanks, a sincere thanks to all of the people who have come out, shown their support, left very kind comments. It means a lot. Now let's get to the list. Number 70. So recall back in part 1 when I said that Mario Kart 64 would see itself usurped by future entries in its own series. Well, here we have it, number 70, my personal favorite Mario Kart game, Mario Kart 8. This came out for the Wii U and now has an Ultimate Edition on Nintendo Switch called Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And I think the reason why this sort of smashes the nostalgia of all the other Mario Kart games is just because it feels like the end result of a couple of decades of perfecting a franchise. With each iteration, it's maybe tried a few new things. They had the Double Dash thing. It's taken a few chances, thrown some ideas away, tried new ones, but kept its core identity from the very beginning. It's Mario characters, racing cars, picking up items, fun tracks, simple as that. And I think through all those years of reiteration and perfection, we have arrived at a game that just feels like basically the zenith of what it could possibly be. I feel like it's plateaued pretty much. From here on out, all future Mario Kart games are probably going to feel as good, maybe just by increments better, but I think we've sort of arrived at the perfect Mario Kart game here with Mario Kart 8. Love the tracks in this thing, love the huge cast of characters that you can play as. Like that there's a lot of classic tracks on here. A couple of my favorite tracks in all of the series have found their way on here, both new and old. I don't really need to explain Mario Kart too much. It's just a fantastically fun time. Fun by yourself, even better with friends. Mario Kart. If you have a Switch and you haven't gotten Mario Kart 8 yet, get you some friends and get you this game. There you go. Coming in at number 69 is Braid. Yes, indeed. Way back in Xbox Marketplace's infancy, back before indie titles were really a thing that I felt like many people paid very much attention to, myself included, this game dropped and really set the bar in terms of production quality and certainly genre conventions for future indie titles for years to come. I'm not sure if lead designer and really only designer, Jonathan Blow, knew what he was doing, knew the trend he was setting here with Braid. I feel like that's a success he's probably going to be chasing for the rest of his career. In any case, Braid is a puzzle platformer, 2D, and it's literally puzzle platformers because the main collectible are little puzzle pieces, and you're jumping on things, climbing things, but the main twist of the mechanic is that at any given time you can rewind any given time. And so, you die, you rewind, you make a jump that's poorly timed or badly aimed, you rewind. And the game shapes its puzzles around this mechanic. And with each world, it sort of drops one little twist on it or one little extra mechanic that makes you rethink everything that you've learned about the game so far. Like one very memorable world, World 4 I believe it is, as you move to the right of the screen, time moves forward, and as you move toward the left of the screen, time moves in reverse. And I remember just being like, I was like almost going out of my mind trying to process this direct spatial versus temporal game mechanic, and it makes you think about the game in a lot of different ways, and it just is really engaging for that, and it started the trend, like I said, of thought-provoking 2D platformers with cute art style. The gameplay is beautiful and simple. The music is beautiful and simple. The art style is beautiful and simple. The story is beautiful and simple until the end, when it sort of takes a 3D 5-me approach and sort of, I guess it becomes about the atomic bomb, or maybe it's about everything. I don't know. But Braid is an experience that neither I nor games industry as a whole will soon forget. Coming in at 68 is Super Mario RPG. This came in at number 29 on my list of 50 in 2008. Super Mario RPG was sort of the trendsetter for the future Mario RPG games, both the Paper Mario series and Mario and Luigi series. And I think back in 2008, I had finally gotten around to going back and playing that one. I'd already played Mario and Luigi and the Paper Mario games before then, and I had a friend who talked up how great it was, how it was better than all ththose games. I sort of had my eyes opened, and I think I was really loving it then. It's fallen considerably since then. And how would I describe this game? I mean, it's clearly outsourced, right? This is back when Nintendo and Squaresoft were still buddy-buddy. And so it ends up feeling like this strange, almost bizarro world of Mario, where there's an evil Yoshi named Boshi, and there's a lot of characters that seem not to fit completely. Like, why is that piranha plant named Smilax? What is Booster? What is he supposed to be? How does he fit in to the overarching narrative of the Mushroom Kingdom? What is any of this? Punchinello, what are you supposed to be? All that aside, it's just a great RPG with solid mechanics, beloved Mario characters, some pretty solid humor in there, and it harkens back to that brief moment in history, or what retroactively seems like a brief moment in history, where Nintendo and Squaresoft were friends and making beautiful things together. Super Mario RPG is one of those beautiful things. It's strangely beautiful, that's for sure, but I think it's definitely worth going back and checking out if you haven't. Alright, so coming in at number 67 is Mega Man X for the Super Nintendo. Back at the end of my high school career, early college career, which is when I made the last list, I was sort of on a Mega Man major Mega Man kick. I was loving the Mega Man games. Played them all the time. I played all the classic NES games and a lot of the Super Nintendo ones, almost all on emulator, I will freely admit. And I remember when I played Mega Man 7 for Super Nintendo, it sort of seemed like the mainline Mega Man games were sort of out of ideas at that point. And it took the very simple structure, the really one-room puzzle, very basic Robot Master type approach to game design that drove the first 6 entries in the series on the NES and made that in the SNES. And just because the Super Nintendo was capable of more, it sort of felt too simple and like it was out of ideas. So enter the Mega Man X series, where they change up the mechanics, they change up the art style, they shoehorn in a story that's admittedly not maybe great, but they make the levels feel more open and sprawling. And it's a different approach to game design, I think, that ultimately ended up working. And I know a lot of people prefer the X series over the classic NES Mega Man games, and I completely understand why. I love the music in this thing. It has some of my favorite songs from the entire Super Nintendo library on this game. And I think it is a great example of a series that has well defined what it is. I mean, 7 games, although did 7 come out after Mega Man X? If it did, then my entire theory is moot. Well, maybe not entirely. Definitely the 6 NES games that had established what it was and realized that the way technology was advancing, that they needed to advance too. And Mega Man X is just about one of my favorite Mega Man games. It's not my absolute favorite. There is one more Mega Man game on this list, and we'll get to that one very shortly indeed. Number 66 is Banjo-Tooie, the sequel, of course, to the much-beloved game, especially here in the Let's Play community. Am I still part of the Let's Play community? More of an absentee of the Let's Play community. Anyway, the sequel to the much-beloved Banjo-Kazooie, and this is just more of the same. When I mean more, I mean more. The levels are bigger, the central hub is much bigger, there's a huge suite of moves and more game mechanics here at your disposal. I mean, just think about just eggs. Just the shooting the eggs from Banjo-Kazooie. Now there are like 6 different kind of eggs in this game. And I think that multiplying everything by 6 is probably a pretty good metric for the way the entire game feels. I mean, just think about some of the bigger levels in this game. I'm not necessarily sure if actual footprint, actual geography, but Grunty Industries, just by the way it's laid out, feels humongous to me. And then you take that and compare it to like Mumbo's Mountain from Banjo-Kazooie, where you can get from one corner of the level to the other in a minute or less, and you realize that this game is an order of magnitude larger. There's just more of everything. Obviously, there's the big split-up mechanic, which was, if I recall, a big part of the marketing of this game, where Banjo-Kazooie can split off from each other, and they have special abilities, each their own, that they can only use by themselves. Most of those are just ways to solve puzzles, admittedly, but they're fun to use, fun to try out. I still like them best when they're together, of course, because that's the classic gaming duo, but it's fun to sort of see what they can do on their own. Now, this game is going to wind up much lower on the list than Banjo-Kazooie. Once again, spoiling my own list, Banjo-Kazooie will be on here quite a bit later. And I think the main reason for that is because it ends up feeling a little flabby almost. I think they went a little too big sometimes. I don't want to go back and play this game as often. I feel like if I get a power in level 6, or do something in level 6 that unlocks something in level 2, it shouldn't take me like 15 minutes to get there. And it really does sometimes. The game world feels just a little too big, which is a weird criticism to make. So I think its biggest problem is one of bloat. But it's still classic game, colorful, fun graphics, great writing, goofy characters. I mean, it's Banjo-Kazooie. What more could you ask for? All right, so coming in at number 65 is Legend of Zelda Minish Cap for the Game Boy Advanced. This came in at number 33. Wow, on my list of 50. Oh boy, I must have just played that or something to love it that much. So it's dropped a little bit, obviously, but I still want to talk about it here because I think it's valuable for multiple reasons, more so than just the fact that I believe it is the only exclusive GBA mainline single-player Zelda game. So I'm not including Four Swords, which was like an add-on to the GBA port of Link to the Past. In any case, this was made by Capcom, right? Same people who did the Oracle games, and they kind of knocked it out of the park again. They clearly were looking for an aesthetic that felt like Wind Waker, but taking those graphics and changing it into a handheld game, and I think they did a better job and made a better looking game than what Nintendo themselves eventually did with Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass. Much maligned games from me. I'm not going to belabor you by talking about those games. But Minish Cap is just a solid Zelda game with great dungeons, great gameplay, some cool new items in this, like the Gust Jar, right? They call it Gust Jar? Blow Pot? I forget what it is. Weird item, cool. The Cane of Patchy, which flips items over, just strange and just interesting. And it also has an interesting approach to the other worlds mechanic that the Zelda series has really sort of dined out on over the years, where instead of having like a dark world or a past world, the second world in this game is the same world except seen as miniature. Yes, indeed, the big gameplay twist is that you can shrink down to tiny size and interact with the world in various ways like that. And that's kind of cool, honestly. I like that approach to the other worlds mechanic. I like going into a tiny little dungeon and fighting normal-sized enemies, but now they're bosses, and I have to approach them in a different way just because I am tiny compared to how huge they are. And that's just fun. And I like the Kinstone mechanics, the Kinstone thing they added, which is like this collectible thing where you're unlocking secrets in the world, you're constantly flying around, you're trying to hook up, find the right half Kinstone, and pair it with other people, other NPCs in the game world. That's cool. Just a rewarding experience from top to bottom, and another knockout for the Zelda series. One of the most consistent series in gaming history. Unsurprising, Minish Cap, darn good. Coming in at number 64 is Journey. Hi, Journey. Journey is a preeminently quiet and sort of somber single-player experience, which is not single-player. You go into it thinking it's going to be single-player, right? You are this nomad in a red frock, and there is this mysterious split down the middle mountain on the horizon that you just know that the game wordlessly communicates to you that you need to get to for whatever reason. And it involves platforming challenges to get there. And the game looks completely gorgeous and feels like it's going to be this contemplative, meditative, single experience. But then what I think is this game's masterstroke is that occasionally you'll run into other players taking the exact same journey. They will also be little nameless, faceless nomads in red like you, and you can join up with them and go on this journey together. And you can't communicate to each other at all, except for these little chirps and symbols. And they basically mean nothing, right? Wake up. And they basically mean nothing. But I think that is so memorable to me, to have this experience with another person, another living human soul, and to join up with them on this adventure and feel connection with them without having any preconception. I mean, you don't even get to see their username. You don't know anything about this person except that they're another actual living person having this same emotional experience. And you become attached to this little nameless, faceless nomad in red that's connected to another living human soul. And I think that is a unique kind of magic, completely unique to Journey. And I don't think that another game has ever attempted anything like it, or should, because it's kind of just perfectly done here. So, this game's probably not for everyone. It's not hugely action-packed or anything, but if you like games that are beautiful, not just on a surface level, because this game is. I mean, it is gorgeous, has a lot of really great set pieces, beautiful music, beautiful, serene, sparkling deserts, and snow-capped areas once you get to the mountain area, but also deeply beautiful. What it says about humans and how they interact with each other. I think you'll find something to enjoy here in Journey. It's completely unique, and it's a journey well worth taking. Coming in at number 63 is Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. This was number 22 on my list of 50. And if you recall, when I talked about Overwatch last episode, I was talking about how first-person shooters sort of lost me at one point. They felt like work and less like fun. And I think, unfortunately, this is one of those games that contributed to that. Although more so, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I think, was the game that more sort of pushed me over the edge into falling off competitive first-person shooters for a while. But I think if you think back to before Call of Duty, I don't want to say ruined, but kind of ruined the first-person shooter franchise. Not franchise, the first-person shooter genre. Or really ruined their own franchise. I mean, just by constantly dropping another game every year. And it's just like, man, I can't care. I can't care that you're making another Call of Duty game. This was the one that obviously set that trend. And you can blame it for all that. But at the time, this was just a premier first-person shooter with great mechanics, great online capabilities, and an excellent, and I mean excellent, single-player campaign. A campaign that they have yet to top, in my opinion, with excellent characters, excellent storyline, great level design, and some shocking moments that they have tried to, well, I mean, really one big shocking moment that they have tried to recreate with future campaigns, and just have not been able to capture that magic that they did back in Call of Duty 4. And I will remember it forever. I understand that it started that bad trend with the Call of Duty games. I understand that completely, but I still have to enshrine it here and thank it for all of the many, many, many hours I put into it. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, it's worth it, even though it's worth that it existed, even if it did all that to first-person shooters for me. All right, so coming in at number 62 is that other Mega Man game I mentioned, Mega Man 2. This is number 21 on my list of 50. Mega Man 2 is my favorite Mega Man game, and I think as a whole, I've fallen a little bit out of love with the Mega Man series, but I think I like the super classic NES feel, that sort of one-room puzzle type approach to the level design of the original Mega Man, still more than the more involved Mega Man X games. And for my money, Mega Man 2 is the sort of perfect culmination of, or the perfect representative from that era of the Mega Man series. Great level design, great bosses, weird, fun enemies, a boss order that I basically have memorized. I know what order I'm going to do the bosses in. I know what powers are good against other bosses. I more or less have this game memorized from top to bottom, and I could probably play it in one sitting. And just having that little nugget tucked away in my brain, I can always pull out and just blast through again, and still honestly have a decent bit of fun with it, I think is valuable. It's classic beyond classic. Mega Man 2, my opinion, the pinnacle of the Mega Man franchise. I'm sure there are plenty out there who will disagree with me, but there you go. My list, my rules, folks. Alright, let's round out this video before things get even more ridiculous. Number 61 is Borderlands 2. I was a little surprised by how high this ended up on the list, honestly. I think it has a lot to do with I like the humor of these games. I like the game world in these games. I like the cel-shaded approach to the graphics. I love all the guns in these games. Finding a gun that has all these special abilities. Maybe it does fire damage. Maybe it shoots 2 bullets with every round. You know, maybe when you reload it, you throw the gun away and it becomes a grenade and explodes, and another gun magically shows up in your hand. Just weird, crazy junk like that. And finding a gun, you're like, wow, this is it. I have found my baby. This is the gun that's going to carry me through the rest of the game, and you are married to this thing. And then you find another gun that's like, wow, that's even better. This thing is trash. Throwing that away. Give me this new gun. And I think the reason I like Borderlands 2 much better than Borderlands 1, I think the story is a lot better. It just benefits, honestly, from just having an antagonist to hate. The first Borderlands, the story was a little nebulous. You were just kind of searching for this mysterious vault, which had untold riches within. And that didn't really drive you forward a whole lot. Whereas in the second game, there's Handsome Jack, the antagonist. Just in terms of villains in gaming history, one of my absolute favorites, and certainly one of my favorite antagonists to hate, because he is just constantly badgering you. He is such a bastard. And to put the final nail in his coffin at the end of the game, and the song the game chooses to play out his final demise is just perfect. And I felt such an enormous sense of accomplishment. It's something that I'll never forget. I mean, I was just laughing my head off when I had finally defeated Handsome Jack. And that's powerful. That's powerful writing right there. If you can be that deeply happy about finally shutting an antagonist up, that's something special. And I think Borderlands 2 captured that pretty well, and better than a lot of other games. And I think also over Borderlands 1, I think the gameplay is a little bit better. I think I like the choice of different characters you can play just a little bit better. My personal favorite is the Gunzerker, just going nuts with bullets. I mean, come on. That's what this game's all about. And yeah, Claptrap's a little annoying these days, but this was back before people found Claptrap annoying. He's that little unicycle robot, for those of you who aren't intimately acquainted with the series. But I had a lot of fun with this game, had a lot of fun by myself, had a lot of fun with friends. Borderlands 2, it's just a game that's wholly committed to giving you a good time. And what more could you ask for, really? So there you go. That was 70 through 61. That was part 4. So next time, which, if my math is correct, will be part 5, we will round out the bottom 50 of this top 100. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.